Journey with Love, actually, podcast, which is over my Journey to Love. Journey with Love is my umbrella. Under that umbrella is my dating game show, Journey to Love. My next game being December 16th. I just want to stir up conversation around dating and what it's like in this current era. What are some of the things that may be hindering us from finding a potential partner? And so today I thought it'd be a good idea to discuss what is it like dating? What does that look like for you based off of a post that you had actually made on your Sophisticated Arrogance page? And then also maybe even discuss preferences versus types, if there's a difference or if it's the same. But let's talk about it. So thank you for joining me today, Bryant. And if you want to give the people a quick introduction on who you are and where they can find you at, let them know a little bit about yourself.
All right. Yeah, my name is Bryant. You can find me on Instagram at sophisticated dot arrogance or anywhere in the manosphere. It's like just one big giant place. Everyone that kind of, deals with, relationship advice, work coaching or whatever. It's one real small network. So you can find one of them, you'll find all of us. But yeah, that's where you mostly see me at.
Excellent. And I want to point out that I respect your outlook and your stance. You have a lot of commentators out here who are, in my opinion, quite destructive in the messages that they put out. But you take a very fair and responsible approach. I don't see you doing a lot of finger pointing, women this, women that. I think you're very balanced, and we need that kind of energy if we're going to grow and elevate and get better at this thing we call dating. So, you actually made a post on your Instagram page, Sophisticated Arrogance, where you have about 12,000 plus followers. Mm-hmm. A few days ago, and the post stated, "What does dating mean to you? What do you consider dating? What does it look like to you? And what is the purpose of it?" And so you posed the question on your page, and I actually want to ask that question of you, if you can give us some insight and then maybe even some feedback that you've gotten from some of your commenters.
Followers. Yeah. So interesting. The reason that question came up was because of a previous question that I asked, right? And so it was a question I asked to a lot of the women that follow me because, like, I started now to get more involved with, interacting with the ladies on my page, kind of getting the feel of where they are in the dating environment. And so it all stemmed from a question that I asked where I was asking a woman, hey, if I'm dating you, but I'm not looking for something serious, how am I supposed to treat you? What things as a man shouldn't I do, right? But once I asked that question and I started getting the responses back from the ladies, I instantly realized there's a disconnect between how men think of dating and what women think of dating. Because a lot of women were like, well, if you're not taking me serious, then we're not dating. And then men are like, huh, what? Like, men are like, if I'm taking you out as a date, regardless of what my intentions are, because I don't know what my intentions are. But for a woman, for a majority of the women that, that spoke out, they said, hey, it's not considered dating to me unless you are considering getting serious, right? You're dating with the intention of getting serious, right? So that's why I posed that question, right? Because I just wanted everyone to look at each other's responses and realize how far apart we are and what dating is. And that's why it now becomes an important question to ask folks when you're getting to know them. What does dating mean to you, right? Because we all don't have the same perception. But I can tell you what dating means to me, right? And yes. I think it's more of an in-between thing. I feel like dating is being able to interact with someone that you are at first romantically interested in, right? To kind of figure out, what do you want with that person? If this is something you can move forward with versus not, it might just turn into a sexual, physical relationship. But dating is all about the process of getting to know someone, right? Right? Because without dating experiences, we would never know what we like, what we don't like. We never get to understand or learn what we tolerate and what we can't tolerate, right? So that's what dating is. Dating is supposed to bring us closer to our goal of finding or having an understanding of what we truly want to desire in a mate, right? It's supposed to be trial and error. Every time you date, you're supposed to learn from that. You're supposed to take the good from it. You're supposed to take the bad from it. And so when you continue dating, your searches are more refined, right? I would hope like at the age of, someone start dating at the age of 21, by the time they're 35, they should have a different outlook on dating, right? Their criteria should be more defined because they've dated enough to understand that. And it's, but I don't feel like every time you date someone, it has to end in a serious relationship, that has to be the goal. I think dating is more about getting to learn about other people, but more importantly, learning about yourself, what you like and what you don't like. So that's my take on it.
Excellent point and observation. And so you may have said, and forgive me if I missed it, and what did you say is the biggest disconnect between men and women when it comes to dating?
A lot of women, not all women, but based on the women that like corresponded with me on this, a lot of women feel that we aren't dating unless you're taking me serious. Like when you're dating me, you should be dating me because you think that I'm the one that you can have a relationship with. Whereas for most men, we look at dating as, hey, if we're taking you out and it's a one-on-one intimate setting, then that's a date and we're dating. If I'm getting to know you, we're dating.
Okay. I was actually having a conversation with a friend yesterday, and he mentioned how in our culture, a lot of us don't know how to date. And I've been guilty of that. I'm just now stepping into the scene where I'm learning how to date. And he mentioned how, in other cultures, dating looks like going out with multiple people, maybe even in the same week. You might take Susie out on Monday and then you're out with Jan on Wednesday. And, you might see both of them out with Susie on Saturday at the party and nobody bats an eye. You're just out networking and getting to know each other. Whereas in our culture, I guess I don't know what was taught that makes us believe that, oh, we went out on a date and so now we're committed. We're girlfriend or boyfriend. It's time to get married or things like that. And to me, I think that's crippling because that stops us from, like you say, exploring our options, figuring out what it is that we like and what we don't like, because we have our mind set on an idea of what our person should be or look like, as opposed to just dating a variety of different types and figuring out, well, this it actually isn't so bad. I didn't think I would date this, but it actually isn't so bad. So that's an excellent point there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And so, like I mentioned, I'm having fun with this whole dating thing, but this is new to me. And I loved how you pointed out how when we are interacting with different people that we are dating, it's important that we use these people as a mirror, in a sense, to see ourselves. Because I can't, my friend, Miss April, she would have said it as, I can't see this booger on my face. I need you to tell me or to show me, So sometimes we can miss who we are, or some of our flaws or shortcomings, because, we don't have that external perspective as someone that we're dating might have. So I love that. That was great as well. And so what is dating? Are you currently dating? If you don't mind me asking.
No, I'm not.
Any reason? Any particular reason why not?
Oh man. I'd say honestly, for me in my personal situation, it's more so like being someone that's been like married and then being in relationship and then relationship. It's like you want to be able to take time for yourself and just do things for yourself and by yourself. And the dating landscape has changed nowadays where, especially if you're dating women that are like older within your age bracket, everybody wants to like jump immediately into a serious relationship because the clock is ticking, right? Most people that I'll date will be like in their late 30s and older. And so everybody just wants to kind of jump into a relationship. They check the boxes. And if you check those boxes, they want to jump immediately into a relationship. It's like, hey, you look nice, you got a good job, and you take care of yourself. Let's get into
it must be the one.
You don't look like you a woman beater. All right, let's jump into a relationship. It's just, being able to, kind of get myself into a position where, I'm doing all the things that I enjoy on my own, so that when I'm ready to date, I won't make it I won't make it so much of a focal point.
Okay. That's a good point. That's why I actually I do a lot of self-work and a lot of self-reflection for that reason. And I know one thing about me is that I tend to get attached easily and quickly. And so for me, that's a big reason why we don't cloud our judgment with having sex too quickly. You know, for me, I actually had someone tell me, you know, who was, I'm gonna say air quote, courting me, but I was more so maybe like a quest to kind of conquer. And it was like, you know, I wasn't in a rush to be intimate with said person. And it was like, well, you have kids. I don't understand what the problem is.
Oh God.
Right. So I'm like, okay, do men really think like this though? Like, because I have children, you expect that I should be just quick to, you know, give it up to you, or what is your thought around that?
Not all men. But based on like the questions that I've been asking in the surveys, yeah, there are some men that think like that. There are men that feel like, hey, you know, there's a prejudice, I think, with a lot of men in the middle ages, I say in their 30s, probably early 40s, with women that have children. Like I've kind of noticed that with the conversations, right? And it's like, hey, I would sleep with a woman that has a child, but I don't know if I would take her serious, right? And I think I think I might have posted that question yesterday, right? And I've gotten a whole array of responses, some interesting responses, right? But a majority of the men, you know, are like, yeah, I would sleep with a woman that has kids, but I don't know if I would take her serious. And some of the reasons is like, you know, as simple as, you know, hey, I want to start my own family. Some men are like, I just don't want to be a part of a package deal. I got to come in and help her and take care of her kids, and I don't know how that benefits me. You got some men who are just really arrogant and blunt, just like, hey, I don't want to finish someone else saved game. That's how they like to call it, or whatever the case is. But then on the opposite spectrum, there's men that actually prefer women with kids, right? And so getting the viewpoint from them, a lot of those men are older men who have kids already, and they're like, we don't want any more kids. Right. And you know, with younger women, they're going to want more kids. So we would want a woman that has kids because we would understand our lifestyles better, right? So, you know, did this gentleman have children of his own?
Grown adult children.
Grown adult children,
yeah.
Right? Yeah, I can't really speak for him in this case. You know, I guess in his mind, he's just like, well, I know she's not a virgin, so what are we waiting for? Celibacy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That just seems to be a typical way of thinking nowadays. Like that kind of sets the environment, you know, with the whole manosphere era. I don't know if it's related to that. I won't even say that, but you know, the whole you're over 40, you're divorced and you have kids, so you're damaged goods, or you know, whatever type of retarded stuff, you know, immature men are saying out here nowadays. And I just think it's so damaging. People should just date what is, you know, for them. But that leads me into the types and preferences. Okay, do you think that we are hindering ourselves, or is it completely okay to just wait and hold out for what your preferences are? Or matter of fact, is there even a difference between having a type and having preferences? Let's start there. What's the differences between having a type and having preferences? And if you guys want to answer that as well, that are watching, please provide us an explanation on that. What's the difference?
A preference is what you want. A type is what you actually date. Like two different things. Okay. You might have a preference. It doesn't mean that you're going to always get that preference. A type is we can physically see or visually see what you're dating, what your dating track record is, right? That's a type, right? And I think a lot of times some of us aren't honest about ourselves with our types. You know, that's one thing with me too. I had to realize that too. Like, you know, shout out to my therapist, Joe. We had to talk about types and stuff like that. Cause it's like, I think a lot of us do have types and we don't realize it. And we gravitate towards certain types of people. And our type might not be what's good for us or what's right for us.
Right.
And for all we know, our preference might not be right or good for us. It all depends on what your preference is based on. Is your preference superficial, or is your preference based on really substantial things about a person? Right? Like a lot of men, you know, their biggest preference is looks.
Mm-hmm.
You get with a pretty girl, most men get with a pretty girl, they'll deal with a lot of crap that they probably wouldn't deal with from a girl that's unattractive. And so that's where that preference becomes a negative.
Okay.
Right? Because you're dealing with things that you normally wouldn't deal with someone else. Right?
Okay.
It's like women. It's like women with the bad boy thing. I don't think that most women's preference is a gangster. Right? I don't think like most women would come out and say that they want someone who's really out in the streets doing ABCD. But there's women that may be drawn to that type because what they see in that type is like masculine qualities, things they would want in a man. And because those masculine qualities that they see in this man overwhelm them so much, they're willing to overlook the bad things. As men, we do that too. Because a woman is pretty, right? We might overlook a lot of bad things about her, overlook red flags. So that's why it's like, you know, after when you date people and after your relationship or your dating experience with them is over, you need to kind of make an assessment of it, like what was positive and what was bad, because no one's all good, but no one's all bad. You can learn things, but like, I like this about this person, but I didn't like this about that person. So when I move forward, I'm gonna keep these things in the back of my mind so that I won't deal with someone of that particular type, because I have an understanding now of what that can turn into.
Great point. My biggest message above all is healing. You know, like my mission, my purpose, my goal is to help bridge the gap in our community when it comes to dating and how we see each other and how we love on one another. So that's why I created the Journey to Love dating game show. But in order to be effective for others, we have to be, you know, healed, at least to an extent. And I was just having a conversation with my girlfriend earlier today too. To be healed is not a destination. It is a journey, but there is a level of healing that you can get to where you're not as influenced by the things of the world in regards to your circumstances, fear, doubt, you know, insecurities. You're no longer holding on to bitterness and fear and feelings of rejection and doubt. Like those things are always going to be there to a level, but you're healed to a point where you are able to navigate. And so I say that to say when we are holding out for, or when we're attracting a certain type, it's important that we examine what filter are we running this through. You know, am I continuing? Do I prefer this type because of this particular type of trauma that I experienced? Like for me, not having any men in my life growing up that showed me protection or love or, you know, provider. Like I didn't get to experience any of that. And so I gravitated towards the bad boy type, you know, because it was a sense of security. Whether it was, you know, a fake sense of security, it still was security nonetheless. And so when I am navigating out here, again, dating, I have to ask myself, for me, I don't think I have a type anymore because I've reached a certain level in my healing journey. But I do always question myself, what filter am I running my decisions through? Am I running my decisions through this hurt, broken filter who didn't know, you know, who doesn't know what it is to have a real man, you know, or someone who is just needs to be in control all the time? Am I running my needs through these particular filters? And so now that I am at, again, a certain level of healed, I don't believe I have a type because I'm open to experiencing just different people, understanding that people are, again, a mirror to me. Like I'm involved with seeing somebody, dating somebody right now, or, you know, dating around, we'll say. Mm-hmm. And I was able to go into this situation and realize that, oh darn, there's still stuff I need to work on because there, was a triggering moment, or because I reacted in a way or responded in a way that I would have if I was still dealing with, a different kind of man. And so now that I've healed, I'm attracting a different caliber of men. I have to learn how to navigate and move differently. And so I'm always having to check this filter in a sense. Am I running it through the broken hurt filter, who doesn't know what it's like to have a good man? Or am I running it through this healed filter who's very aware that, when I come across a situation, I'm going to work on that. So healing above all.
I have a question though. What does healing actually look like? And here's the reason why I kind of asked that question, because I kind of feel like when people talk about, and we hear the cliche all the time where people are like, oh, you need to heal and you need to get over that and this and that. But certain things you can't heal from. It's going to change who you are forever. You can't go back. Like, is healing implying that you go back to who you were before the hurt? Or does healing imply that you accept the hurt and let it change you into who it's supposed to change you into? Right? Mm-hmm. So I'll kind of give you an example, right? And this is something that I was kind of like dealing with, right? Like, so, and I'm going to tie everything together, right? When we deal with types, right? We deal with, what type of people we deal with, right? I'm from Brooklyn, right? I'm from Bed-Stuy, right? I've spent a majority of my life in the hood, right? Most of the women that I've dealt with in the hood were aggressive, right? Street chicks, aggressive, right? And because you become used to that, it kind of becomes your norm, right? So, it with me, it was always something about dealing with these assertive, aggressive women, right? That most men couldn't handle, right? It was just something that was like, I guess, like a challenge for me to kind of to do that, right? I've been dealt with it all. I've been dealt with gang members, all types of wild women, right? Mm-hmm. And those relationships weren't healthy, and like the way that I was picking these women weren't, when you look back in retrospect, it really wasn't healthy, right? And it's like, did you ever heal from that? It's like you didn't. You just adapted to that. That became your type. Right. You never looked at it. You never knew you had to heal from it because you never knew there was something wrong with it. It was just what you were accustomed to. It's the same thing with certain women. It's like, if a woman dates celebrities and men with lots of money, it's hard for her to get away from that. Anything else that she deals with is going to be lackluster, right? So it was the same with me, like it wouldn't be too much of a connection if I'm dealing with like a real passive, laid back, timid woman. It just wouldn't really work well for me because I'm so used to that fire. You know what I'm saying? But then you got to ask yourself, well, maybe if that person that that isn't your type might be what's best for you, right? And so that's where it's like getting out of your type and just trying something new. And so I see that one of your followers said, I think healing has to deal with forgiveness and acceptance because you can't change your past nor the people that hurt you. So I guess she's referencing it in terms of just forgiving, right? And moving on. And I guess my question for that just becomes, well, when you do that, when you forgive and you move on and you're dating someone new and you see the same previous flag, you see the same flags in this new person that you saw in that person. Do you take heed to it or do you give them a clean slate because you're like, this is a whole different person? These flags may not necessarily mean the same outcome. Is that healed? Or if I go by those flags and say, you know what, I saw this in the ex that I was dealing with, I don't even want to deal with this woman no more. Does that mean that I'm not healed?
That is a great, great question. So I would say that when you get to a stage where toxicity, this isn't fun anymore, because a lot of the times when we are in dealing in situations that are not healthy for us, it's probably toxic somewhere in there. And when we are healed, we just don't have that same level of tolerance for toxicity. We crave peace. We we desire someone who can help us elevate and grow and become the best version of ourselves. And it's hard to do that if you're bringing toxicity. Being healed means that I know who I am. I know myself so well that I can, again, allow you to be a mirror. So that means that when you walk out of my life because it didn't work out, or when you do something wrong or whatever, I know it's not a direct reflection of me. It may be something about me that attracted you to me in the first place. So to me, that's what being healed means. To understand that every single person that comes into my life is to show me something and to teach me something. And if you cause me hurt, it's not to, it's to, like Anika said, to accept and forgive. But yeah, for me, the biggest thing is just having those healthy boundaries, no longer having that desire to be intertwined with toxicity, and knowing who you are on such a level that, you know, when that person that's not for you comes into your life, you know immediately, okay, well, you're not fitting, you're not adding the value that I desire in my life. So, but yeah, I'm a big component on we attract where we are and who we are. And so if we continue to attract people who are, like in your case, that firecracker, you know, it's not to say that it could be, you know, I would look at it as, okay, well, of course we have to ask the question, why do I continue to attract this type? And then if it's something about that you don't like, you have to dissect it down even a little bit more, and then even dissect it even a little bit more. But being healed is just being self-aware of who you are, my healthy boundaries, and I'm cool on the toxicity. So, yeah. But excellent perspective though. I'll even get another little, go a little deeper in being vulnerable in regards to, I have a desire, again, learning how to date. I want to learn how to date. So that means that I do want to date multiple people. I'm not ready to get tied down right now. I want to know how to do this thing the right way. And so I come from a situation where I was very masculine. You know, I'm just now at 40 something years old, entering into my soft girl era. And so I desire to be submissive to the right person, you know. And again, now that I've reached healing to a certain level, I attract these type of men who are leaders, that are, hey, you need to know the difference between a man and a boy, you know, type of energy. And so I have an issue with control, the need to be in control, and the need to dictate the outcome and things like that. And so now that I'm dealing with a different kind of man or men, I have to learn how to get rid of those things. And I don't know if a lot of women are self-aware on that level, that they can allow a man to come into their life and actually teach them, hey, this is how you know, this is the proper way to treat a man and to respect a man and to submit even to a man. It takes a certain level of awareness and consciousness to know that the man, as the, let's say, call it what it is, as the head or as the leader. I mean, I know we are equals. Yes, we're to do this thing together. However, I desire a man that can lead. I desire a man that can make decisions. And so I need to know how to get out of my own way. I need to know how to shut up when this man says, hey, you know, now is not the time. You know, I need to know when he says, you know, this is what we're going to do, not to question it to an extent. You know, if I trust you and I trust your judgment and you've showed up for me and you've never given me a reason not to trust you, I need to know when to say, hey, okay. So these are all things that I myself am having to learn, because I've never had the privilege of dating around or even, again, experiencing a real man. So it's been a journey nonetheless.
I think a lot of that has to do with personality types. Everybody doesn't want the same thing. There's some women that are just naturally leaders, and we have to accept that that's the way that they were raised. They are better suited for a man who is laid back and doesn't want to lead, right? Then you have women that want to be submissive, right? And so those women are better suited for the men that are assertive, aggressive, and want to lead. And I think when you mix up the two, that's when you have the problems, right? You have this, and I don't like to say alpha male. You have this assertive male who really believes in leadership, trying to change this woman who also feels she's a leader, trying to get her to submit, like, trying to put, a square peg in a round hole, right? It's not going to work, right? And then the same time, if you had, a woman who's looking for submission, and you pair her with a man who is unconfident about his ability to lead, then they're going to be stuck. Nothing's going to be done because neither one of them are going to make decisions. So I think a lot of it has to do with personality types. We come with this stigma where it's wrong for a woman to be a leader, and I don't think that's true. I think it's okay if that's who you are. Just find a person that's compatible for you. That's it. There's men that are okay with that. So the real question becomes, what do you want to be? Where are you most comfortable at? Or where do you see yourself being more comfortable at, right? I asked the question the other day, about women. I said, if you had an opportunity to be a stay-at-home wife versus having your own career, which one would you do, right? You're with him, you have the opportunity for a man to take care of all your needs financially or whatever the case is. Not abusive or anything, treats you really well. Would you, in that situation, would you want to be a stay-home wife, or would you still pursue your career? And half of the women said they would still pursue a career. Why? Because they don't want their identity to be around the relationship, right? They feel like they have to have an identity outside of their relationship, right? And there's nothing wrong with a woman feeling like that, right? It's, like I said, it all comes back to compatibility, knowing who you are, and then dating someone who can complement who you are.
I agree so much. The knowing who you are part is the biggest thing, because a lot of women claim that they desire to have is it alpha male? That we don't really use care to use those terms, but that's, for the sake of this conversation, a lot of women want the man that's a leader and that can take charge, and not really taking into consideration that they themselves are bosses, and that, that might cause for them to bump heads.
Real quick, I want this to be quoted. The only people who want power couples are women. No man will ever tell you that. No man cares about having a power couple with his woman. That's a woman's idea and a woman's invention. You'll never hear a man saying, "I want my wife to be this," and my wife. No, most men do not. My experience is if a man has all of these high expectations of his woman as far as money and careers, because he wants her to take care of him. Men who want women to take care of them are the ones always pushing women to do A, B, C, D. A man who is secure in his own self is going to support anything that you want to do because he wants you to do anything that makes you happy. It's not necessarily mandatory for you to be a lawyer, to be a doctor, to make this amount of money. He's already stable. He doesn't care about all that. If you want to do something, he's going to support you in whatever you want to do because it makes you happy, not because it's a requirement where it's she has to be this type of chick. We don't know. Man doesn't really say, I want a boss chick. I want a power couple. A man wants a cooperative woman, a patient woman, an understanding woman, a caring woman. Right.
Okay. That makes total sense. And I actually hear that a lot when I'm interviewing the bachelors for the Journey to Love dating game show. That is usually top of the list when I ask them what is it that they desire in a potential partner. I swear 90% of them are going to say they want a woman that is, in a sense, cooperative or pleasant, feminine, Not to say that not a woman that's not going to challenge them, but it is important to, take the back seat sometimes, And I don't think a lot of women know how to do that. Yeah, sis, I know you got it, but just chill, let him take care of it, And we miss that mark quite often.
Yeah. I like to call them backseat drivers, right? Because one of the things I hear a lot from women who are very assertive and are leaders, they always like to say, when I find the right man, I will be submissive.
Right.
Studying history shows that that's a lie. It's not true. If it's
Okay,
any,
wait. Be submissive or be feminine?
to be
Be sub-
submissive,
be
to be
submissive.
submissive.
Okay.
Yeah, because there's assertive women that are still feminine. They're just assertive,
Okay.
right? But history and studies show that that's not true. And the reason why that's not true is because you'll see this at even with people at work. When you're a leader, right? There'll be times where you will like defer and you'll allow, like I've seen it where, and I've dated women that are like that, where they'll allow you to make decisions as long as they agree with your decisions. The moment they don't agree with your decision, they will try to take over, right? Submission requires you to not always have to agree with the decision, but have a trust in your partner to know that they're doing the right thing. You might not see the full picture of it, but you trust them enough to say, you know what, I'm gonna let you rock, right? If you're not doing that, then you don't trust someone's leadership, right? And I feel as a man, men get submission all mixed up because they think submission is a slave. A woman does what I say. That's not what submission is, right? As a man, to be in a position of leadership, you should absolutely be taking counsel for your woman. Every decision that you make should have her in mind. How is she impacted by the decision that I am making? You shouldn't just be making decisions because it's something you want to do or it's something that's going to make you feel good. Every decision that you make should have her in mind. That's why leadership is such a powerful but a delicate role, because you're not only looking out for your well-being, you're looking out for the well-being of someone else. A lot of men think they're ready for it, but they're still selfish. And if you're selfish, you can't be a leader. It requires you to care about someone else, probably a little bit more than yourself, to get things done, right? So people skip over that. They be like, submission. They'll be like, how is your leadership benefiting her? You got to ask yourself that question.
That is so good. That just made me think. Well, I mean, there are a lot of men who nowadays don't seem to be in position to lead. I was going to say that because the whole thing with being submissive, damn it, where did my train of thought just go? So I was going to say around the submissive part, I think we should use it as a precursor as women in regards to when we're selecting a person to date. Is this someone that I can submit to? And if you understand that as, does this man have a vision? Does he have something that I can get under, essentially? Then that would help in our selection process. But okay, so with me being out here in this dating game, and I've had in regards to what you just mentioned, the whole selfish part, these are reflections that are coming back at me from the people that I'm dating. I've had 2 men tell me that they didn't use the word selfish, but let me know that I'm going to struggle with dating if I continue to act like I'm the only one in this situation. Like nobody else's feelings matter. I'm going to make the decisions. I'm not going to check in with you to see what you desire, what you like. Just know that, yeah, I'm going to do whatever I like. And that's been a thing for me because that's where I come from. That's what life has been for me. And so I have to, again, slow down and check myself. I have to be self-aware and understand that, damn, I got these filters that are hindering me from operating correctly. So I have to be more intentional with checking in. What do you think about this? How do you feel about this? What are your thoughts on this? So that was a great point.
Yeah, you gotta be concerned. Like personally, I'm not really big on submission. I feel like it's a red flag when people use the word in a conversation.
Okay.
Like I personally don't feel men should be telling women that, hey, I want you to submit. I need a woman that's going to submit. I feel like as a man, if that's what you want, you should date the woman and monitor it, and it should come natural. If it doesn't come natural in the way that you want it to, that means that she's not the woman for you. But telling a woman, hey, I want you to submit, like that's, I just found that that's weird.
Okay. Yeah. And that's a good point. I mean, yeah, it's just going to continue to come back to know who you are so you can align yourself with what you desire and what is compatible with you.
Yeah, absolutely. I feel like, you know, for me personally, um, I'm more on a equality where it's like I have this thing where I say defer to the expert, where it's like being a leader doesn't require you to be the smartest person in the room. It just requires you to know who's the smartest person in the room and
Right.
when to utilize that, right? There may be things that a woman is way better than me in, right? She might be better at managing finances, right? She might be better at running the house, right? You don't challenge her for certain things. You defer to her because she's the expert in it. She's better than you in certain things. And that's okay. And you would expect your partner to do the same thing. As a man, I would expect my woman to defer to me in certain things. And I think that's where a lot of problems are, is where we don't want to defer to the expert, where we want to argue with someone, right? It's like, imagine like my wife being a lawyer, I want to argue with her about law stuff. Like, that's crazy. Like, I should be soaking up her knowledge and sitting there listening to her, right? It's like me. It's like, you know, if I'm dealing with a woman and like we're talking public health stuff and she's arguing with me back and forth, and I'm just looking at her like, ma'am, you know I'm an expert in this, right? Like,
Right.
this is, you know what I'm saying? Like, I've written actually published papers, like, ma'am, like, so it kind of gets annoying where it's like you have people challenging you when you're an expert on something. And I think we got to get better at that. I think it's fine to ask questions, right? Right. We go to the doctor and the doctor says something that we don't agree with. We should ask questions to get an understanding of it, right? But then you have those people that are going on WebMD, read something and think they know everything. And I think that's the problem with relationships. You know, I think people are competing with their partner instead of collaborating with their partner and combining their strengths and their weaknesses. Like, listen, you're better at this than me, so I'm gonna let you lead. You know, and then we can even take it as far as like the money thing, where in a situation where the woman makes more than the man, right? It takes a certain type of man to be able to handle that situation, but it also takes a certain type of woman, right? With that, a woman being in a relationship with a man where she makes more money, there's a responsibility, right? There is a responsibility to understand that even though you make more money, he's still a man and should be treated as such.
Right.
And you cannot utilize that to try to get one up on him or to try to attack his ego. Right? So it's a responsibility coming with that. It's the same thing as a man. As a man, if I'm the breadwinner, I have a certain responsibility to do right by her. I cannot use my money to control her. Right? So wherever you're the expert or wherever you have the leverage at, there is a responsibility, even more of a responsibility, to do right by that person who is now vulnerable because of that.
What was that statement?
We fail at that a lot. We fail at that a lot. We see it all the time in relationships. Like, the relationships go bad. You know, people are now, you know, they're talking about and saying all of the horrible things about the person at the end, right? That you always knew was an issue, right? But you just held that card real close to you. And now in the opportunity to play it, you want to play it. You can't do that. You have a responsibility, right? And sorry to go off topic a little bit, but that was a conversation we had earlier with men. And, you know, getting into the dating thing with men, most men do not confide in their girlfriends. Most women don't know anything about their men emotionally. Men don't trust women at all when it comes to that. Overwhelming.
I understand that. I understand it and I get it. And it's very unfortunate. And I'm wondering, will that change? Is there a way to change that? Because a lot of women, of course, desire, especially, I really believe that we are healing as a people, as a culture. Like, I know that there's things that look like we're taking a few steps back, you know, with some of the things that we're seeing out here. But for those of us that are whole, self-aware, vibrating high, we're on the right path to shifting the direction of, you know, where we come from. So how do we get to a point where our men are confiding in us?
Communication and trust. I feel like, you know, like I said, I just recently had this conversation this morning, like, and just heard from a lot of men. It was unanimous. I think the biggest fear with most men, and you can like chime in on this because you're a woman, you would know whether this is true or not. But a lot of men said that, hey, when I confide in my woman and I express my fears and I become vulnerable, she starts to respect me less, because if she's looking at me as the leader and I'm having problems, then she's like, how can he lead me if he's coming to me being vulnerable? Right. So do women feel like that?
Yeah, I can honestly say that when I was operating from a broken place, I was that girl. Yes, I would use your vulnerability against you. I unfortunately have to admit that. And a lot of us, 99%, everybody is going to come from a background that, has caused them some sort of hurt, and they're going to project that hurt unless, again, they have consciously and intentionally healed that hurt. So in this day, I would never even think, fathom, or imagine, using someone's pain against them. But in my broken days, when I was a broken person, hurt people hurt people. Mm-hmm. So I really believe that it's important that we increase our discernment on who we are involving ourselves with is a big part of this healing journey. Yeah. So again, that's knowing who you are. But yeah, use discernment when you are choosing your partners, because you should be able to lean on me. You should be able to share with me, and I pour into you and you trust me. But yeah, it is too many women that will use a man's hurt against them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I don't think women realize how difficult it is for men to share these things, right? Because no man wants to be vulnerable. So for that to happen to a man, then he's like, one thing about men, we'll learn from our first mistake and like, we'll never do it again. Like, so this next woman now is, facing the consequences of what the previous woman or the previous women have done, right? He doesn't want to confide in her. He'll talk to her, but he's not sharing anything with her. He's not sharing any of his vulnerabilities. He come home, she can visibly see that something's wrong. He doesn't say anything, and she thinks it's her, but it's not her. He just has other stuff going on, but he feels like he can't confide in her because she'll use that against him one day when she's mad at him.
I do think that a lot of men then should be seeking therapy in that sense, than to talk their problems out there. I mean, have a healthy line of what you're opening up to about with your woman, because how else am I going to get to know you unless you're opening up to me? But there are also, certain areas where, baby, you need to seek a therapist, and I ain't it, because a lot of men do be looking for women, to play that role as a therapist. And I'm not qualified for that. I don't want to do that. I do want to be able to pour into you as you pour into me. But there's some things where, a couple of dates ago back, I had to let a guy know, like, I'm not a professional here, but I think you may need to seek counseling, because there's a reason why you allow yourself to be a doormat. If you're in a relationship and you allow certain things to take place, if you don't have healthy boundaries, if you allow people to use you, if you are a people pleaser, like, all of these things are going to affect the relationship that you have in this present moment with your partner. But there's a reason why. And so, no, you can't come to me as your partner and, we sit here and just go through your whole 30, 40 years of baggage, because that's a lot. So a lot of things is go seek a counselor. Men, it's okay to go seek therapy. Your girlfriend is not your therapist, but you also should be able to have to be able to trust her with your heart and your vulnerabilities. Absolutely.
Yeah, I agree with that. But it's been like I said, interesting. Like, been speaking to a lot of men, speaking to a lot of women, just kind of understanding where everyone is and what their thoughts are. And I think men and women both want the same thing. They're just looking at it from different angles.
Yeah.
Women are looking for commitment, loving relationships. Men are looking for women that's going to respect them, and it's just kind of figuring out how to make that mesh, right? I think with the dating world nowadays, I do feel like social media has negatively impacted not only our perception on dating, but our experiences with dating. it gives us the illusion that we have more options than we actually have.
I think that feeling, we do what feels good to us,
Mm-hmm.
right? As a culture, we need what's going to feel good. And
Mm-hmm.
so a lot of us, we don't use logic because we want to go with feelings.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm dating someone right now who is actually shorter than me, considerably shorter than me.
Mm-hmm.
And initially it was like, well, I don't know, this isn't typically my type, but I'm not feeling all the butterflies and all the sparks and all that type of stuff. And so I could have been like, well, this isn't for me. Let me go ahead and, I'm gonna go ahead and cut out. But then I thought about it, right? I'm like, okay, well, this person is very fascinating. I think they are very fascinating. And that's like a quality that just is not likely going to go away, right? It's not like being attracted to someone for their looks or maybe because their sex game is good. And we know that those type of things are going to fade.
Mm-hmm.
I like you because you are a really fascinating person and you show up for me and you're very kind and you're very thoughtful. Like you have all these different qualities. So me to focus on something like your height, which you have no control over, to miss out on an opportunity of being, treated very well, very, very well because of a
So he treats you. He treats you well. You like
yes,
how he treats you.
I do. And I think that matters. And I think, again, we will overlook and the important qualities because of feelings. And I was talking to my friend the other day, Bill, and he mentioned that that's why arranged marriages work, because you can learn to love someone, but we're not using logic and discernment. We are operating from a place of feeling. And I'm like, yeah, it makes it for me. I have to do what makes sense, which is to, be with someone who likes me and shows and that they value me,
I like to call that the slow burn, right? I think when we date, a lot of us are looking for that instant chemistry. It's like, oh, if I don't feel that spark, I don't know if it's it, right?
Right.
A lot of times we see someone at the spark. A lot of women like to say, oh, I feel butterflies in my stomach. They want that spark. They feel if that's the spark, they're going to go with it. If they don't feel that spark, then they don't know, right? I don't think this is going to work, right? The same thing with men. If men don't feel that spark, like, oh my gosh, she's bad and my heart's fluttering, then we don't know. But just because something starts off quick and that chemistry is there doesn't mean it's going to last long.
That's
right. That slow burn relationship where you had to grow to like someone might be the relationship that lasts the longest.
That's right.
Right. Because you actually got to know the person. Right. Because, people getting into relationships over sex and like physical appearance, like that's like 10% of the relationship. The other 90% of the relationship is going to be you just sitting there talking with that person. And you got to make sure that's someone that you actually like to talk to.
Right.
They're not an idiot or that they don't have views that conflict with yours and you're always fighting, right? If the only time you guys have peace and chemistry is sex, that relationship ain't going to work.
Listen, I can attest to that. Hello. That just was not a good dynamic when that's all you got, but that speaks to that need to chase after those feelings.
Sex is not the answer. And I think people should understand that, like, most of your time in a relationship is going to be about you talking to the person. You're going to be like exploring each other's ideas, your beliefs, how you feel about certain things, and so make sure you learn these things about a person to be like, I can tolerate this, right?
That's it.
You look at all these old people that are together, right? The husband look old and raggedy, the wife look old and raggedy, but they love each other to death. Why? Because their love wasn't really just based on physical appearance.
On the superficial, yeah.
They loved each other. Like, you'll see a girl with a guy that's not that pretty or he's not that handsome, rather. It's because she loves him, right? I'll be honest with you. You look at most of the men that are married, they're not marrying the prettiest girl. They're not. Ever. Okay? They're not. You're going to be like, why he with that big fat woman? Because she loves the hell out of him. Dead serious? I'm serious. Like, yeah, man, like you look like, I know that they love to say that men are shallow, But most men aren't going to marry shallow. They're going to have fun with shallow. They're at the end of the day, they're going to marry someone who's down for them. So I guess a lot of women can't understand that. Like, he's married to this woman and she look like this and I'm better than her. And I'm like, no, you're not. Yeah, you might look better than her. You might have a better job than her. But, you know, she has proven herself to be a loyal person and the person that he needs in his life.
You know, one thing that does not lie is energy.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I don't care how well you try to dress yourself up with all the jobs and the clothes and whatever else. One thing does not lie is energy. And even when I'm interviewing the women for the dating game show, that is my main indicator. What does your energy look and feel like? And so if you're coming into my space, you know, with that resting bitch face being the top one, you know, it's not likely that I'm going to be like, oh yeah, this is the one, she's a great catch, you know, because I know that men desire to have a woman that is pleasant.
Mm-hmm.
He wants a woman that's going to allow him to feel youthful, you know, and like you say, that is agreeable. There's a lot of different factors and qualities that you cannot dress up with, you know, getting your Brazilian weave and your nails done. So yes, you may be a 10 on the outside, but what does your soul look like? What does your energy look like? Can you be that man's peace? And no, I don't think a lot of women do understand that part of it.
Yep, I agree.
So,
yeah.
Any last minute thoughts? We got about 4 minutes or so. Do you have any thoughts or?
No, I'll just say, like, for the people that are out here dating, you know, my advice would be utilize dating as an opportunity to get to learn what you like, what you don't like, but more importantly, what you can tolerate and what you won't tolerate, right? And just use it as a tool to get closer to understanding yourself more. Because when you understand yourself more, you understand what it is that you need and what you're looking for, and you won't be, tricked by the superficial or shallow. You'll be able to kind of have an understanding of, like, this is what I'm looking for in the person. So yeah, that's it.
And be true to yourselves. Like, it doesn't make sense to settle for something that, you know, you're not happy in just because one or two needs are being fulfilled. If those aren't needs that you will continue to need to be fulfilled 5-10 years down the line, again, that's with the sex and the looks and even when it comes down to finances to an extent. But if there's things that are lacking and you are not feeling fulfilled, but, you know, I'll just deal with it because they fulfill these other needs, that's not necessarily being true to yourself. And when you're not true to yourself, there's going to be resentment. So date around, date multiple people, have fun, find out what you do know about yourself and what you don't know about yourself, and don't internalize things. I think that is so big as we're out here navigating. If it didn't work out, if he didn't like you liked him, don't internalize that. Don't take it personal. You're not for everybody, and that's okay. The same way everybody's not for you, and that's okay. But do date around, have fun, enjoy it, learn yourself through the process. Okay.
Absolutely. And I'll be at your event in next month, right?
Yes. Y'all please come check out the Journey to Love dating game show. Next game is on December 16th. We are accepting applicants to participate in the game. It is a show, so audience members are highly encouraged. Please come through. We'll have an open panel discussion where we're discussing dating. So we'll have married couples through there that's giving their advice on how to make relationship works. Because once you get, I'm holding the show to help people meet, but we still need to make sure that this thing is, the relationship is sustaining even after you meet. So again, this is for everybody. We can learn wisdom from you married couples or from you that have been divorced, what didn't work. Come on out and share your knowledge of wealth. There's also going to be an after party with one of the hottest DJs in Orlando, DJ Classic. So it's going to be a super dope time. And always open to male co-hosts as well. So if anybody out there is interested in being a co-host for the Journey to Love dating game show, the opportunity is also available. So yes, thank you for that. All right. Well, we are right here at an hour, Bryant. This was fun. Somebody in there said we need to take this show on the road. So, I will plan to see you back here on next week, and maybe we can, coordinate that road show, that show on the road. Who knows?
Get it popping. Yeah.
All right. But it was fun. You have a fabulous evening, and I will talk to you again soon.
All right. Later.
All right, take care. Bye-bye.